The Alpha course was not on my radar. I was working at Ave Maria Radio at a telethon and just trying to do something useful with my life. And there were people working there who were very deep in the faith, who of course I had no idea why or what they were doing. But the crew boss of the telethon was one of your parishioners, a wonderful, hardworking woman by the name of Sandy. Sandy said, I want you to do just one thing for me. Come to Welcome Sunday at my church. Just one service. And she said, it's an hour, I won't kill you. I'm like, all right, I'll go. All right. So when Mass ended, Sandy said, well, you've got to come downstairs and have coffee and donuts. Great, we finally get to the good part. So downstairs we went, and there were Alpha greeters in the church. And they're wonderfully cheerful people, but I really wanted nothing to do with them. So at that point, Father John Ricardo happened to stop by the table and said a few words. And everything he said seemed to make sense. And he was challenging me also. I think he said something that I don't think you could handle all the love. He made just a quick remark that got to me, got under my skin, and it was a bit of a challenge. So I said, give me that. I'll try it. Somebody said you can't handle it, so I just filled it in the card. And I looked at Alpha as a challenge with great skepticism. And yet the way it's set up, the way Alpha is set up, the first couple of weeks, I took notes. The first 2 weeks, it's very gentle and it's very general, but I absolutely hated it because it wasn't what I wanted to hear, and so I took notes. And I became like a Philadelphia lawyer. And as soon as the video stopped, I wanted to fight and argue and spit nails. I was fighting God. That's not a good fight. I'm a scrappy kind of a guy. This hand's been broken, this nose has been broken a couple of times. I love a good fight. Pick your fights. Don't fight with God. And he found me right there, just like Job, arguing, complaining, fighting with God about everything, and blaming God for everything that had gone wrong in my life. I asked my Alpha host, I said, Nikki, I've been thinking about bringing something to the next session, and these are my weapons. And I'd carried them for 30 years. One of them was my old softball bat, and the other was a rope that my therapist had tried to help me in a secular way. He made me functional again, and we put big knots in a rope for everything that had gone wrong. I had to give up my weapons before I could listen a little bit. So that was the end of the fight. My life now, I would have to say in a word, abundant. I use that word because it's so full. It's overflowing. It's full of joy. It's actually overwhelming at times. What God does when he finds you and you let him in.